Welcome in, Moi Ploy, to week 6, week 7. So, I am here with your boy, Peter O'Donnell, Soy Moi. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Nice, feeling good, especially after
Mhm.
I got a little bit of a dub.
Easy. It's been a spicy week. The league is red
Dude.
hot,
We,
hotter than it's ever been.
oh my gosh, this is extra spicy. All right, let's take a look. So, we've got the scoreboard for week 6. In week 6, let's take a look. Just go down the line here. We've got Orange Justice versus Gluten Freak. Gluten Freak taking down the dub. It ended up being a tighter game thanks to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Pretty big performance, but in typical CEH fashion, had a touchdown called back, and it didn't end up being as close as it could have been.
hmm
Let's move on down to the. I think this was a game of the week, wasn't it? Yeah, this was game of the week. This is the game of the week. Goat Squad versus If Moy Then Moy. If Moy Then Moy not looking like a Moy. If Moy Then Moy falls to 2-4, tied for last place in the league, and
And the GOAT squad moves up to the middle of the pack.
yeah, a truly disappointing performance, especially considering he got 40 points out of a single player.
hmm
Let's take a look now. We got Todd Moy Forever absolutely crushing the heavily favored Avengers. Todd Craig goes down hard in this one, and this was one of the most
Man,
shocking upsets. Not just
that's what
for the
happens
fact
when
that
you play defense.
that's right. Todd Moy Forever dominating on both sides of
Football.
the
It's
ball.
unprecedented. Look at the points he put up.
Unprecedented.
It's a disturbing amount.
Yeah. And then this one looked like it was going to be a good game. And then Ray's team did what Ray's team does, and that is nothing. Oof. Big oof on that one. All Barkley, no bite. Absolutely true.
The curse
119
of Barkley's
points.
bite.
I think that's the lowest total since like Borden's 5 quarterback week 1 performance.
Look,
That
Avengers
is,
wasn't that far off, 124. So couple underperforming weeks. Could
yeah,
be outliers.
absolutely. Oof,
Could be time for
absolutely.
Barkley to panic.
As far as notable players go, I think we have to point out Derrick Henry, 40 points, huge game out of him.
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson, 40 points. We're going to talk about him later. We had Kenyon Drake finally showed up. We'll talk about him later as well. Almost 30 points there. And then I think the biggest other ones that we need to talk about are all Barkley, no bite. I mean, look
I
at this
actually want to
lineup.
bring attention.
Yeah,
When are we going to the panic bus? Because I have to bring attention
let's
to.
work our way there. Let's work our way there.
Okay.
So next up, we're going to talk about a little bit of mischief mismanaged. All right, so in this week's mischief mismanaged, brought to you by the Missouri Aquarium Society. Go ahead and throw up the logo. What up? Thanks, Missouri Aquarium Society. All right, so mischief mismanaged is let's start. We'll just go down the line, starting with Orange Justice. We have to talk about the quarterback situation on Orange Justice.
It's a debacle.
For some
He's not
reason,
even
he
sure what he's doing.
decides to start Kirk Cousins,
Skirk's Cousins.
and in
If
a
Kirk
week in
Cousins,
where the Pittsburgh Steelers put up 38, Ben Roethlisberger only gets 11 points.
that's what happens when defense dominates.
And you know what's wild is this game should have been an even bigger blowout. Kirk Cousins started the game with like -5 points or something insane like that.
If he can't do it, I thought last week since he couldn't do it against the 31st ranked defense for quarterback scoring,
Oh yeah.
certain he could do it against the 32nd ranked defense.
So
And
why
he
is
did.
that
He delivered with
mismanagement?
the 23.
Because Matt Ryan with Julio back did not get started, and Matt Ryan put down a 31 burger.
Yeah.
Boom.
Well,
And
I made sure
Carson
he was
Wentz.
in the starting lineup about 30 minutes before the game showtime, and I said, you know what? I'm going to innovate today. And I started Kirk Cousins over him.
Kirk Cousins, I choose you.
hmm
And then Carson Wentz getting it done against Baltimore. No one really saw this coming, but
He's
I'm sure going
hot.
to let you
He's
know
doing
that you
great.
absolutely suck for benching him. What up?
I'm going to bench him this week too.
All
He
right,
plays
next up
the
on the mismanagement, we've got Gluten Freak. He had a big benching of Julio Jones popping off for 33.7 points. Thank you very much, Julio. See you next week.
He'll be ready to go next week.
Moving on to the GOAT squad. GOAT squad had a couple of key benchings here in Chase Claypool and Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks had a hot week last week. Chase Claypool
The GOAT squad
obviously
has
been on
missed
fire.
out.
What I don't understand is how you can start someone who's been as mediocre as DJ Chark and Devontae Parker and not start someone who's been as hot as Chase Claypool.
He thought he was it was just a one-off, but it's not. Chase Claypool is
I'm
delivering.
also shocked that Jarvis Landry is still on his roster. Look at this average points. 10.2. Yikes. Get it together, Phil. All right, let's
That's a
move on
shot. That's
down.
taking a shot at the GOAT.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is somebody who assembled the greatest array of quarterbacks in the league and then traded them all.
So we've got if Moy, then Moy. And you know what? What's wild? It's like, look at this. Here's his bench scoring 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 7.5, which shockingly would have been better than his actual tight end, 2.3 out of Jonnu Smith. Thanks for nothing, Jonnu. 0, 10.1, which wasn't better than either. Would have been better than Raheem, but not by much. And Mike Williams. So his team is so bad that there's absolutely nothing he could have done to score more than 130 points. That's brutal.
It's not looking good right now.
That's brutal.
But Justin Jefferson showing up is good. Good for
Yes,
him.
that is a good sign.
He needs quarterback production. Those are big points for him.
I mean, he needs all sorts of production. That was a pathetic showing.
Oof, the Moy.
All right, we're going to talk about the reigning Moy. He's got Lamar Jackson, finally had a good game. Deshaun Watson finally had a good game. James Robinson doing what James Robinson does. Joe Mixon really looking like he's got it on track the moment I trade him away, naturally. Juju
What did Joe
Smith-Schuster,
put up?
he dropped a 15 burger. Now, here's where we come to the mismanagement part. Juju Smith-Schuster, something about that guy's name continues to get him starts, and he continues to not deserve them. He is averaging just 12.5 points per week, and that's mostly buoyed by his week 1 performance. After that, if you don't take in his week 1 performance, it is really
Abysmal.
abysmal. His best performance becomes 16, which is fairly mediocre. And he could have started Keelan Cole, could have started Tim Patrick, who's been red hot, could have started Russell Gage, who's honestly been trash, and I don't know why he's still rostered. There are so many options that he had, and he chose none of them. So, anyways, let's move on to the Avengers. The Avengers, terrible performance. And, here's another wild one. Again, we're faced with a situation. He couldn't have started Mark Ingram, not Preston Williams, not Mike Gesicki, not Adrian Peterson, not Mecole Hardman, and not Frank Gore. Not a single one of his bench is so bad that literally nobody on his bench would have improved his team. So, I think Todd Craig still has a great team, but I think this exposes exactly how thin his team truly is. If something were to happen to Darren Waller, he's got no production coming out of the tight end position. If something happened, and Cooper Kupp has not been performing well either. And I think, if anything happens to Keenan Allen, he's stuck starting Cooper Kupp. Like Todd Gurley, this shows what Todd Gurley like. This is why I've been hating Todd Gurley for so long.
Who has better bench depth, Moy or Avengers? Because I think Moy should actually be on the pin.
If Moy, then Moy.
No, Todd Moy forever, forever, dude. And I think Todd Moy forever actually needs to be panicking after this win. And here's why.
You mean Todd Moy forever panicking?
Yeah, I want Todd Moy forever panicking, and here's why. If you look at his score, 178, it only took 3 of his players to put up 100, and then the rest of he should have had over 200 points, but he's actually not getting that great of production.
I agree. If it wasn't for Derrick Henry and his 2 quarterbacks,
if they have a mediocre week, he's going to be in the 130s.
Yep, you're 100% right.
And so he needs to be panicking. Right. Elevated heart rate, trouble sleeping. He should be panicking.
I couldn't agree more. I really don't believe in Darius Slayton coming down the stretch. I think he is entirely matchup dependent. I really don't believe in Juju Smith-Schuster. I think he has 2 decent starters at receiver, Robbie
He
Anderson and
traded
Tyler
away his
Lockett.
best running back, Kareem Hunt.
Well, and don't forget Miles Sanders. Tyler Lockett, I think, and Robbie Anderson are his only 2 real startable receivers. Other than that, I really don't want any part of his receiving core, and he's done very little to address it.
Was there any mismanaging in Corona 19 versus all Barkley's no bite?
Oh,
What?
definitely. Let's talk about it. Corona 19.
Corona's 19.
Imagine trading away Melvin Gordon for
Ooh,
DeAndre Swift, and then
and
imagine
not
not
starting him.
starting DeAndre Swift
He got
on the
Jerry
week
Jeudy
that
in there.
DeAndre Swift pops
Oh,
off. Ugh,
it's
gotta
a
feel
learning
bad.
experience. It didn't cost him the W.
You would
That's
think
all
it's
that
a learning
matters.
experience, but it seems like he's not learning.
This is
So I'm not sure you can call
he
it a
got a
learning
W on
experience.
he had a bye week with all of Seattle and New Orleans, and he got the dub. That's all that matters.
He got the dub. And you know what? He got the dub thanks in large part to Ray.
Sweet baby Ray, Meta
Ooh.
Ray Peace.
Let's talk
Old
about
Barkley no
this.
bite. Was he on the Lindenwood baseball team? We'll
Let's
never
talk
know.
about this. Can you really blame him for not starting T Higgins over Chris Godwin, over Stephon Diggs, or over Calvin Ridley? No.
Can you blame him for having Alan Lazard on his roster? I don't know.
Is Alan Lazard, what's going on with him?
Is he coming back? I don't really know. I know he got injured.
He says he isn't eligible to return from IR yet, so he can't even practice. Yeah,
Okay.
honestly, I have no idea why he's still.
I'm just curious.
Yeah,
He'll be
he's got a
back. I
ton
guess
of
he'll be
injuries.
back.
He's got Allen Robinson, Alan Lazard, Deontay Johnson, Dalvin Cook, Laviska Shenault, and he's just stashing all these injured guys, and they're not like injured top tier guys. They're injured mediocre guys. And like Josh Kelly could not have done less with this opportunity so far. All right, but we're here to talk about mismanagement. So the only thing we can really recommend to Ray is that you improve your effing team. Let's talk for a minute about Devontae Freeman and Ray's multi-year love affair with this washed up, old, busted running back.
Never give up on love. Ray
has certainly not given up on this man, and he certainly has a crush on this guy. This is the first year that Ray did not draft Devonta Freeman, and that is only because Devonta Freeman did not start the year on an NFL roster.
Exactly.
But you know what? Worked his way over to Ray's team eventually, and worked his way into Ray's starting lineup.
Do you want to know something fascinating though about Ray?
Darrell Henderson, who's been on fire, and granted he didn't get it done, but he could have started Darrell Henderson. Tell me, what's fascinating?
This is a fascinating stat about Ray's team, all Barkley no bite. This is the latest in the season he's ever been tied for second place.
You know what?
That says it all.
Yeah. Ray, in my opinion, needs to be panicking more than any other person in this league.
Mm-hmm.
No one's team is looking worse than Ray's right now.
Sweet baby Ray.
All right. I believe that wraps up the mischief mismanaged. So let's go ahead and talk about some secondary matrix.
And this might sound like an echo, but
what you got?
I think it all goes down. It falls back to Ray and Ray's inability to his team is not producing points. It's I didn't realize how much point generation he was getting from Josh Allen, and Josh Allen has had 2 back-to-back bad performances. And Ray's on a skid. I think he was 3-1, and now he's 3-3.
Oh yeah, and what's so interesting is I've made a couple of probing offers on some of Ray's team, and he is clinging on to his crappy players for dear life. I have made a few offers on on Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor has not scored more than he scored more than 15 points once this season, exactly one time. But let's take a little bit of a look. So Ray is currently he got off to a nice start. He got off to I think it was a 3-1 start, and now he's 3-3. He's lost 2 in a row.
He has the lowest points scored in the league.
The lowest
But
points
his
score
saving
in the
grace,
entire league.
his saving grace is a secondary matrix that he doesn't necessarily control, but it helps him a
No. See,
lot.
you can ask Todd Moy forever. You can
Moy
control
would say
defense.
you can control the other team's scores.
Look
Ray
at how
only
Todd Moy
has
forever has
20
controlled
more.
this.
Ray's opponents have only outscored him by 20 more points on the season.
Yeah.
So
And you know
that's
what? That is due to change. And here's the thing. We're getting into bye weeks. Ray's bench is beat up and honestly C tier talent at best. And they're injured C tier talent. Now that we're in bye week, and Ray's lineup is really feeling it this week. And I just don't see how he gets a win this week. I just don't see it.
yeah. The thing that I noticed here is Ray's record is his only saving grace. He has 3 dubs. If he can somehow put things together and get a couple good weekly matchups, he might be sitting at 6-6 come week 12, looking for a backdoor playoff bid. I mean,
Honestly,
like
if he gets to six and
that's the
six,
kind of
if he gets to
success.
6-6, I would be shocked. I'm pretty sure that he's going to finish out. I
I
think
am
he'll be
his
three
biggest
and six.
supporter. I am Barkley's Bite's biggest supporter. I've been bitten by Barkley's Bite
It's true, you
before.
have.
It didn't feel good.
It's true, you have. And I gotta say this, Ray has proven year after year after year that he does not have the gumption that it takes to improve your roster mid-season by making the difficult decisions to cut guys that you thought would be good in the draft.
Right?
Ray
It's
drafts
tough.
his team, he loves those players, and he ride or dies them until he's out of the playoff picture. And he does it every single year. And I don't see that this year has been any different. He
This
still
year could
has
be different. He has time
no,
on his hands. He wanted
no.
to get a clearer picture. Now he knows he has to start
He's got
making
lots of injured guys that are desirable for people in better situations, and I can promise you that he will not trade them for anything less than $2 on the dollar.
This
Wait,
is wild because
wait,
what we're talking about with Ray here. All right, this is wild because what we're talking about with Ray here sets the table for the race for Moy. And I know we're going to get into that later, but I just want to say this. We're bashing Ray, and the
yes,
secondary matrix indicate that we need to. Sorry, Ray. Biggest supporter right here. But you're
sure.
sitting at 3-3. The league is so tightly everyone's record is so close. 2 teams at 2-4, 2 teams at 4-2, and then 4 teams at 3-3 that the next week, like I don't think anyone separated themselves as a clear Moy candidate yet, and
No,
it's gonna be determined over the next 6 weeks.
yep, I think you're right.
I mean, we'll probably know by week 9, but you just don't
Yeah,
know.
yep.
If Ray is gonna get my vote if he sneaks it, gets a backdoor playoff bid,
If he can turn his situation around,
I vote Ray
I would be
and
shocked. But
The Parker Hall boys.
it would be a complete reversal of everything that we know about him. Let's go ahead and take a look at. So here's what we're talking about here. The next person on the panic bus. Let's go ahead and throw up that panic bus graphic and move on to that segment.
Let's go.
All right, so we're going to be talking about the panic bus here. We've talked about why Ray needs to be on the panic bus ad nauseum at this point, but we need to mention Borden.
Ooh.
All right, so if Moy then Moy, his roster looks. I mean, his team's still in the bottom. What is he? Third from the bottom in scoring.
I've got
And
him
what's
at
interesting
yep.
is it's not like there's a few bright spots. Like he has Michael Thomas hopefully coming back. Nick Chubb will be back, but not until he's going to be out of the playoff picture. Raheem Mostert goes down again. Like that sucks, but he's got to find a way to get value out of Raheem, whether that's by making a trade for 80, maybe even 70 cents on the dollar, because Raheem's not.
I think his wide receivers are going to be his bread and butter. If
Yes,
Antonio Brown is signed by a team,
but
then he
Peter,
might be starting Justin Jefferson, Antonio Brown, Michael Thomas, and DK Metcalf,
think
all
about
of
this,
which
Peter.
are elite.
Would you start Devin Singletary?
No, he wouldn't even. I was looking at Buffalo earlier in the
Borden
year.
started Devin Singletary week 6. Borden started Devin Singletary week 5. Borden started Devin Singletary week 4. 3 weeks.
Love doesn't have.
Borden started Devin Singletary week 3. We have to go all the way back to week 2
Oh,
This
but
is the
week
only
1, he
week,
did week
and
1.
he started in week 1. Devin Singletary has been so terrible.
Yeah.
10 points per game. And Borden's team is so shallow at running back that
But he
he's
always
having
gets
to
10.
start. He's having to start Devin Singletary every single week. Does he get 10?
But when
Because
you
I
draft,
remember
when you draft
single
5
digit,
quarterbacks in a row in
single
the
digit,
draft.
single digit. Devin
Yeah.
Singletary's gotten single digits 3 times this year. And dude, if you just watch the games that he plays in, Singletary looks bad.
This is what happens
He
when
falls
you
over
draft.
when he gets hit by a stiff breeze. I mean, no yards after contact, no power, no drive in his legs.
He pushes the boundaries of the auto draft theory and how far can you take a roster after you auto draft.
That
He
is
made it
true.
to the playoffs last year, so
I just noticed this, and it's speculative ad with Antonio Brown. I love that.
I
Well
love a
done,
guy
Toyo.
who I love it.
No
Best
one
wide
based a
receiver.
roster spot like
He's literally
Antonio Brown.
he's the best wide receiver in the league, and he hasn't played in a year and a half.
Think
That's
about
how
that.
good he is. He should be a Hall of Famer. That's
All
how
right, we're
good he
coming
is.
up on our time cap, so let's keep playing.
I think we dropped.
We back. All right.
There was a drop.
Let's keep plowing along here. So we have got next up on the panic bus. We've talked about Borden. Got to talk about me, Jaboy. Got to talk about.
I thought you stepped off the panic bus.
No, I'm still on. I am on the panic bus.
You're back.
I'm a fixture of the panic bus.
Do you know about the Phoenix? Have you seen the Phoenix meme in our league chat via phone? You are the Phoenix. You've risen from the ashes.
I am 2-4. Christian McCaffrey is still not coming back. I'm looking a little bit desperate at running back. I'm having to start Antonio Gibson this week. Christian, I made a couple of bad trades and traded away most of my running back depth, and it has not really
Kenyon
worked
Drake.
out for me.
Miles Sanders is out this week. Lev Bell. Why not Lev Bell this week? Are you not ready to trust that he's going to deliver?
I trust Antonio Gibson more than I trust Lev Bell this week.
Ooh, okay.
But yeah, he's got Dallas. So I like that matchup. But anyways, I am definitely on the panic bus. My saving grace is that I get to go and play the hapless if moy then moy. So I think this game right here is going to be whoever loses this game is basically
out of the playoffs.
I'll say this. I think if I lose this game, I have a very slim chance of making the playoffs because I'm getting Christian McCaffrey back at some point. I'm getting I've got a couple of key injuries. Miles Sanders will be back soon. Like I've got some guys that are coming back. If Borden loses this game, his injured players don't come back for a long time. Raheem Mostert's gone for at least 2 weeks, most likely. Nick Chubb is gone for like 4 weeks, I believe.
It's not good.
It ain't good, bro.
That ain't good.
And Todd Craig requested that we throw him on the panic bus. We'll go and toss him in, but honestly, pump the brakes on that panic bus, Todd Craig. Not time for you.
Just breathe, panic. Dude. You're in first place. Just breathe. Your starting lineup is like top tier talent at every position. It's just the bench depth that is maybe the panic.
All right, we're gonna hit this real quick. The art of the steal. There's 2 trades that we got to talk about, both involving me, of course. I don't think a single art of the steal has been featured, has not featured me. So
that's not true. Brent and Borden made a trade. So
yeah, but I was still featured in that week that they made a trade.
Okay.
I think I made a trade every week. So Kenyon Drake for Jared Goff. I traded away Kenyon Drake. I received Jared Goff. Phil, achievement unlocked, has traded back a player that I traded to him. So Kenyon Drake's been pretty terrible with his huge amount of opportunity share this year. I was like, I don't feel comfortable starting him. C-Mac will be back soon. I can trade him. I had just lost Dak Prescott for the entire season.
Yeah, you wanted depth.
I felt like I needed depth, and I gave Phil some depth that he needed. It was a win-win trade. However, Kenyon Drake, of course, pops off. But if you dive deeper into that, Kenyon Drake scores on a 1-yard run that honestly, the play should have been reviewed, the previous play, where I believe it was Kyler Murray had looked like he'd scored the touchdown, but they ruled that he was down, but he didn't look down on the replay, and for some reason they didn't review it, even
And they
though
went
you're
for it.
supposed to because it's a scoring play. And then they just handed it off to Kenyon Drake, gets the 1-yard touchdown. And then in a game that had been basically like a blowout, they've got the C string in there. Kenyon Drake pops off at like a 62-yard touchdown at the final seconds of the game to close it out. And just a pure greed play. Should have kneeled down at the 1. It's the right thing to do for the team. Nah, Kenyon Drake, give me them fantasy points all the way to the house. And I think if you take away those 2 plays, he has, again, a pretty abysmal day. Something like 9 points or something like that. So I don't feel terrible about that one yet. I do feel super stupid with this one, though. Justin Jefferson, owned by me, traded away for Andy Dalton, owned by Borden. This is a trade where I didn't know what Andy Dalton was going to be. I thought the system is great. The defense is terrible. They're going to have to throw a ton. Andy Dalton has a lot of great weapons. He's going to get some fantasy points. Dude, Andy Dalton looked bad. Bad. Straight up bad this week. Looks like Peter left us here for a second. But it was just a brutal week for Andy Dalton. And he is going to be he's going to be really struggling to figure this out. Peter, go ahead and hop back in. We'll close the show out. All right, so week 7, we have got the game of the week, and I think I have to give the game of the week to this team, this matchup right here. The Avengers versus Orange Justice. I think the Avengers are skidding a little bit. Orange Justice, if he can get his team going and finally stop mismanaging his team, there's a pretty good chance that he could score, that he could outscore Todd Craig's Avengers. And what's so interesting about the way the matchups shake out this week is we have the potential to have 5 teams at 4-3. Peter wins, goes to 4-3. Todd Craig loses, goes to 4-3. One of these 2 teams right here has to win and go to 4-3. And then if Todd Boy Forever is able to beat the Corona 19's Brent's team, both of those teams will be at 4-3 as well. So we'll have 5 teams at 4-3, 2 teams at 3-4, and 1 team, because one of these 2 teams has to win, at 2-5. And so that is your game of the week. The Goat Squad, or the Orange Justice versus the Avengers. And I think that is all that we have time for. I wanted to get into some Moy discussion, but I lost my discussion partner probably due to internet issues. And yeah, that is that. This has been your Moy Ploy, Moy Moves of the Week. I hope you enjoyed. I'm Jake Harris, and he used to be Peter O'Donnell, and we will catch y'all in the next one.